board. So for those of you guys who I have not met, my name is Ms. Schreiber. I am one of the college counselors and academic planners at Milken. This is my 3rd year there. So I want to thank you guys, both alumni and current students, for showing up and being willing to share your perspective and help our current students learn about schools, given that they can't travel. And especially for juniors and seniors who are about to make a decision, and juniors who are just really starting to learn about schools. We're just grateful for the Milken Network. So if the alumni and parents of alumni in the room could introduce themselves, what you majored in, if you're an alum, and what you're currently doing, and then if you're a current student, when you graduated from Milken, and what your intended, if not declared, major is. And why don't we start with Alex?
Okay, so I graduated Milken in 2018, so I'm finishing my sophomore year currently, or at Northeastern, people usually refer to it as second year. I'm double majoring in electrical engineering and economics, and I'm also in the honors program at Northeastern. I don't know if that's applicable to anyone. I participate in a few clubs on campus. One is called Tamid, which is a finance and Israeli startup focused club. I'm also in a club called Paradigm Hyperloop, which is a more engineering focused club. And I also conduct research on campus. So I work in a lab through Northeastern, and I make neural interfacing devices that we test by implanting them into rats. So that's pretty cool too. Yeah. And then I'm potentially starting co-op this fall, but that's, with everything going on, it's a bit complicated now.
Yeah, and we'll do more on the co-op in a bit. That's a great intro. Edward, do you want to take it away?
Let me unmute myself there. Yes, so I'm an alum's parent, but a Northeastern grad. My daughter graduated Milken in 2000. My son graduated in 2004. I graduated Northeastern in 1975 with a degree in business. And I was lucky at the time. It was the height of recession, but my co-op job, which was as a bank examiner for the Comptroller of Currency, offered me a full-time position. So I stayed with them. I stayed with the Treasury Department for several years, went to law school, had about 10 years of law work, went into money management. I'm now retired, trying to give back to the community. I sat on the Milken board for several years, and now I work with foster children and trying to get them settled, various things of this. That's what I have.
All right. And then I want to is there another alum in the room that I missed, or are we current students now?
Sorry, this is Celia.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I was a few minutes late.
No, not a problem at all. Thank you.
My groceries.
Thank you so much for being here. Did you catch kind of just we're doing regular general intros?
Yeah. I can do mine really quick if you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my name is Celia Sudri. I graduated Milken in 2002, and I went to UCSB for undergrad, Northeastern for grad school in journalism. I was in a really small class of about, I would say, like 20 students in my whole program. And then after that, I worked at a few different magazines. I wrote for LA Weekly for like 8 years, Los Angeles Magazine. When I was at Northeastern, I interned at a New England Press Association, and now I had a couple other jobs in PR and marketing, but now I'm the assistant director of marketing at FITM, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising.
Oh, cool.
So that's where I am currently. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, if you want to ask me any questions, I worked at 2 different PR agencies in the hospitality, food and wine space, and travel. And I worked at a men's grooming shaving company, and now I'm at FITM for the past 4 years. So
Awesome. So I think the first thing I'd like to hear about from the alums is about the co-op program. It's something that sets Northeastern apart from a lot of the other schools, and it seems like it was instrumental for Edward and is hopefully something Alex is going to get to do. But if you can talk about what that is and what your experience was like and kind of how it added to your preparedness to exit college and go to the next steps.
Maybe I'll start. Alex will have to get started. But that's really what ended up drawing the Northeastern was the idea of getting work experience and applying what I was learning in school directly to a job. I spent 4 years. The challenge of the program is at the time that we were doing it, it was sometimes 3 months you work and then other times you work 6 months. You're bouncing back and forth. And I was based out of New York. I was living in Jersey, so I was going back and forth, and certainly housing was a challenge, but the job, believable. I basically, they were prepared for co-op students, and they had a program for co-op students. And there was about 4 of us in our New York region. So we were housed, we were put with a mentor, and ran through a program that was virtually identical to new hires coming out as undergrads. And we were doing the same type of work that brand new students, brand new graduates would be doing in the field. The thing that it really prepared me for was life afterward. Instead of being in the cocoon of school, I'm there in the workplace, having responsibility for major projects, and then contributing back to the organization that I was able to take with me as I went through the rest of my career, which included law and money management. It really, I felt very proud coming out of school with 2 years worth of work experience behind me. And I think it worked well for me in my forward parts of my career.
And then Alex, can you talk about how Northeastern supported you finding a co-op opportunity, matching you to somewhere that worked for you, and just kind of what the on the ground process was like for you?
Sure. So, I'll go through my process for this here to give an idea of what it looks like. So when you're either your first semester as a sophomore or second semester as a sophomore, depends when you do it, you enroll in a class, which is essentially an introduction to co-op. And so in that, you through how to make resumes, cover letters, interview, how to perform technical interviews if it's applicable. And essentially, it's a pre-professional course, which at other universities, they won't even offer or you won't take till you're about to graduate. So you really get how to get a job instruction immediately off the bat. And so once you get through the introductory part of that course, you get access to this site called NU Careers. And so on NU Careers, they have literally thousands of jobs that are companies have allocated positions only for Northeastern students. So, and then these jobs go from small businesses that are just located in Boston to like Goldman Sachs every year allocates like 5 positions in different areas to Northeastern students, where they're essentially guaranteed to at least take Northeastern students for those roles. So what's unique about the co-op program is you're able to get very unique opportunities and also experiences in companies that often might not even take interns. And why these companies will do that is you're working for an entire 6-month span. So they're actually able to get the return on their investment in you for coming to the company. Versus if you just do a couple month internship, you spend the first month and a half just getting integrated in the company. You work for maybe another month and then they're trying to replace you, or you're slowly exiting the company in 2 weeks. So that's what makes the co-op dynamic very interesting. And like for me, why my co-op process is a little funky is I actually got a co-op, which was very unique. I was going to be working in venture capital field, but because of current circumstances, the firm I was supposed to work for got crushed. So it is not capable of doing that anymore. But I feel like it's an applicable example because it's almost impossible to get internships in venture capital work. They only take graduates or even MBA students. So because of Northeastern's co-op program and connections, we're able to get those type of opportunities.
Great. And then Celia, I'm actually going to switch to talking about the area and living in and around Northeastern and what that change is like coming from somewhere like LA and somewhere from like Milken. You know, and you did it as an adult, but I think you can obviously anticipate like what it would have been like had you been 18 and fresh out of Milken.
It's really scary because I went to UCSB, I graduated in Milken, and then I was basically like coming home like all the time. And then when I was choosing a grad school, I was like, I've been in LA for so long, and I'm probably never going to live anywhere else but LA, so I might as well try a new place. I mean, I'm from Baltimore, but I didn't grow up there, so I was like, I want to live in the East Coast as an adult. So my program was only 2 years, and I loved it. I lived in Brookline, which is I don't know, it's like a really nice neighborhood, beautiful brownstones and like really cute bars and stuff. And I absolutely loved living in Brookline. There's like a little reservoir you can run around, and it's like 2 trains from Northeastern. It's like about 45 minutes commute. I know a lot of people live downtown, but it's like seems too like crazy and chaotic for me. I felt like Brookline was like more chill, and I don't know, I really liked it there. But yeah, that was my kind of experience. I lived there the entire time. I don't know if you have any other like questions about that, but there was like a really, my favorite like Jewish deli, Zaftig's, was like in Brookline. I don't know, I just felt kind of like at home there. I felt that there was like a little bit more of a Jewish community towards that area in Newton, and so that's where I was.
Awesome. And how, each of you want to talk about winter and what that's like?
That was hell. I don't know about Ed and Alex, but for me, that was like literally the worst thing in the world. I only had ballet flats when I went there, and I literally flip-flops and ballet flats from like UCSB was like literally flip-flops for 4 years. And then when I got there, I had just no idea what I was getting myself into with those winters. I felt like my nose was gonna like fall right off. And I bought Uggs, which was really stupid because it's wet and snowing anyway. But you guys can talk about your experience. I was not prepared. It was totally
preparedness seems like step number 1.
Yeah. I mean, I can say for me, I actually did a program in Montreal for a semester. So that was actually essentially my first winter.
Mm-hmm.
So this year was, I guess, my first Boston winter, and compared to Montreal, it's like nothing. So because to put in perspective, in Montreal in December, it was hitting 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And like to put it in Boston, like it's rarely below 30 degrees. So like you wear a nice coat. And, you know, I'm thinking
30 degrees is hell for me.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know. For me, I felt like I have my jacket. I throw on a pair of jeans, and I'm like good to go. And that's honestly, I wear a collared shirt and puffy jacket and go to class every day, and that does the job. So, I think if you're really sensitive to cold, you'll obviously want to wear more stuff. But I know you adapt pretty quickly. It's also nice, the fashion trends is everyone's wearing the same thing. So you just kind of wear what everyone else wears and you're in good shape.
For me, I grew up on the East Coast, so it was no change other than Boston was probably milder than New Jersey in some respects. But it is, I mean, it's a factor there. The summers are very humid. LA doesn't know from humidity. And you'll be there in the summer. At least I was there in the summer. Alex, I don't know. The co-op works now. I think, I went 2 summers, which is a great time to be in Boston, because between the free concerts and everything else, it's beautiful. But it's cold and it can be windy. And if you like skiing, you won't notice it. But otherwise, if you've been born and bred in LA, you have been spoiled. So you need to expand your horizons, because you never know where your job's going to be.
That's very true.
Yeah, summers are great though. They make it worth it. Especially.
I'm actually curious, Alex. Where are you living? Where are you living when you're in Boston?
I'm in International Village dorm, so I'm on campus housing right now in dorms, like very close to Northeast. Like,
oh, you're there right now. Wow, what year are you?
I'm a second year.
Oh my gosh, that must be tough right now being there.
Well, I'm currently in LA, but that was where my housing was supposed to be for the rest of the year.
Yeah. And Alex, you said that you did first semester in Montreal, but I wonder if you can talk about your decision process on how you decided to go to Northeastern.
Sure. So let's see.
And you don't have to share where you're choosing from between if you don't want to. You don't have to share what you were choosing between if you don't want to.
I guess how it worked for me is I got waitlisted at potentially other places I could have gone to, but for me, at some point, Northeastern was a good enough school I was happy with that I was in, and I thought it actually meshed with my personality. I always have been big into experiential learning, doing internships, and like more hands-on activities, and so the culture of Northeastern seemed to fit. And so once I came with that recognition, and I really wanted to be in Boston, so that helps. Northeastern was the best choice for me. And I will say, as disclaimer, Northeastern is not a school, at least from my experience so far, where people kind of are hands off and waiting 4 years to start to think about careers. Everyone is very career focused and also very intent on finding jobs, internships, and also very focused from off the bat. So the whole kind of free-flowing freshman year does not really exist that much at Northeastern, and that is not the type of culture you'll find there. And so people who are expecting that type of culture are kind of disappointed from that aspect of Northeastern. Not like that, so it perfectly meshed with me. And so all those things considered is, I guess, how I made my choice.
Awesome. And then if you could give advice either to juniors or seniors who are currently starting to learn about schools or weighing options, what about Northeastern really drew the other alums in?
Edward, do you want to go or should I go?
Well, for me, and I think for the biggest distinction Northeastern has is great academics, but their co-op program, which is not around in the places, and many other places. I mean, Drexel has it, and a few other schools have it, but Northeastern the leader in it. And as Alex said, the network is terrific. If you know what you want to do, Northeastern place. If you want to be a liberal arts student, so there's nothing bad about that. I'm not sure Northeastern's the right place. I think the co-op program drives the school, and the knowledge of what you want to do drives what you end up taking as courses, what you end up doing on campus and off campus. So I really resonate with what Alex was saying. He was focused. I was focused on business, and so I ended up having a goal in mind. If you want to explore, which, as I said, if someone asked me, what did I miss at Northeastern, it was really taking those liberal arts classes. I mean, that was an element that was missing in my education that I still feel, I still want to take that philosophy class. I'll probably take it at UCLA as a senior and sit in on a philosophy class. That, I think, is the negative of the program. But they have, since I went, they've offered more opportunities to get those liberal arts classes to round yourself out better than a focus just on what your final goal is, because it does add to your not only education but also the development of yourself as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Edward. That's way to put it. Good way to put it. I will say they are, even to my regret, they're now adding some liberal arts requirements for majors. And so it is not a school you can go on and you completely can swish away the liberal arts requirements. They're now slowly adding them into the curriculum. So they do exist, but exactly to your point, it's not a place where many people are trying to discover what area they want to be in. They know what area they want to be in. They have a goal they're trying to find. And that's kind of the culture of the entire Northeastern body for the most part.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I obviously went to a journalism program, so it was pretty specific, and I'm glad that all the classes were what I needed to train like in the field right away. And I went to UCSB before, where I took a bunch of like classes and barely remember anything. So I'm glad that that's why I chose the program at Northeastern, because the co-op program I didn't do, and that's my biggest regret. But I did do internships, and I did like love it so much, and yeah.
So it's been 20 minutes. I wonder if there are any of the current Milken students who have questions. Can either literally raise your hand or use the raise hand function on Zoom, or just unmute yourself since there aren't a ton of people. Yeah, Noah.
I have a question that's directed towards Cecilia, because I noticed that you commented on how for undergrad you went to a UC, and I'm wondering if you can kind of explain to us like what the big difference is between a college like the UC system and going somewhere like Northeastern, like what you would say was the biggest difference you noticed.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Well, UCSB, my classes had like 200 people in them. They were massive, like huge lecture halls. And then we had like the smaller sessions with the TA where we'd go over stuff. But so it was like a huge, party school, big classes. Like I felt like I could just not go to school and no one would ever know. The difference for me about my program at Northeastern was like, it was tiny. Like the classes were like no more than 20 people. I got a lot of one-on-one attention. I had to go to every class, because like they could see me. And I think I like absorbed and learned a lot more, especially because at that point I already knew, like I already did the general classes at UCSB and kind of knew what I wanted. But yeah, I would say, I don't know, I can't speak to the undergrad at Northeastern experience, so it might be like huge lecture hall classes and it might be like the same kind of vibe. But also it's just, I wanted to go to UCSB because like I knew my sister went there and I knew it was like a big party school, and that was like I wanted to party for 4 years, and I did. And I got it out of my system. So that's kind of why my experience and the difference between the two for me. And I was very career focused by the time I was at Northeastern. I was like, I was working. I was like really taking things seriously. So.
Yeah, I will add for undergraduate class size, like the biggest class I've ever taken is 65 students. And I did not have to take my my physics 1 and physics 2 classes, which are larger. And like basically your basic English, those classes are slightly larger, but after those courses, almost every class is like 25 people or 40 people and less. So they're, I don't know, if you see class sizes are that big, class sizes at Northeastern are very small.
And I also went to UCSB because I got on the water polo team there from that. So that was like a whole different experience for me too.
I played water polo in high school too. It's very cool. I did not play in college. All right. Any other questions before I roll on with other questions? Edward, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, well, let me just respond a little bit too.
Yeah,
when you compare some of the UC schools to Northeastern, the environment is very different. You're in a very urban environment. And while I was there, I mean, the campus was a third of the size of what the campus is now, but your campus life is very urban versus a lot of the UC schools may be a bit more suburban or rural. So those are some of the things that you want to think about in terms of what you may want to do. There's sports at Northeastern. They have a football team. When I was there, they had a great hockey team. They imported all these kids from Canada who were in my dorm to play hockey. They put a big focus on hockey, and they won the Bean Pop this year.
In a row.
Yeah. So there is sports there, but it's not like a more like big state school where every Saturday everybody's going down to the football stadium. It's a much different environment, and then you have to see how that works for you too, in terms of what type of atmosphere you want. I also want to mention one other thing. As Celia was out in Brookline, 45 minutes away, the area around Northeastern has really been redeveloped. And he lives on Dartmouth Street, which is literally 4 blocks from school. And it's a total renovated area of brownstones. And I'm shocked as I go up there to visit him, because when I was there, you couldn't walk in those neighborhoods. But it is really shifted that you can end up really getting some nice housing near school. So those are some of the things that you end up wanting to look at. He's got a great little apartment and stuff, and the restaurants and the bars, and you're in a major college city, so there's always something going on.
Really fun.
And come fall time, you're out by the Charles River and everybody's rowing, and you're watching these races. In summer, because you end up having summer semester, the Boston Pops plays for free out on next to the Charles. It is a great place to go to school if an urban environment is what you're looking for.
And Alex, maybe you can talk about, it sounds like you're really busy on campus, but, if you're able to get out into Boston, and what the highlights of that have been for you.
So one thing I've been doing is almost every weekend I try and go to a new coffee shop around Boston, just to I get out of my dorm and off campus. And so it's under a 20-minute walk from campus to Newbury Street. And I don't know if any of you have been in Boston before, but Newbury Street is like Boston's Rodeo Drive, for example. It's where all the shops are, all the shopping, tons of stores, tons of restaurants all over the place. And then you also have massive malls with the Prudential building right next to campus too. So it's the easiest place to get around as a college student, because one, you have trains. Northeastern has 2 trains that are on campus essentially going into Boston. And also you'll get to learn that if you're really in downtown Boston, it's a really small city in actuality. And then you can walk essentially from Northeastern to the top of Boston in about 45, 50 minutes if you really wanted to. I've not done it, but I have friends who do it. But I prefer to just go to coffee shops on the weekends. There's a ton of great food. You have the North End where you get some great Italian food. And it's just a really fun place to be as an undergrad. And for me, I'm not personally into the huge party culture. And because of that, it's a great to have so many different options. But even if you were someone who more aligns with that, you also have Harvard, BU, and MIT who are all also throwing parties. So there's no deficit of stuff to do in the city, either on the weekend or during the week.
And then I'm curious, Edward, if you, looking back on starting at Northeastern and knowing what you know now, if you could give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
I think it would have been picking up more liberal arts classes. My roommate from college actually lives down the street from me over here in Encino. And I was talking to him this morning that we were going to do this. And unbeknownst to me, he minored in history. We were both business majors, but he minored in history. And I look back and I would have tried to pick up more liberal arts classes for a better rounding. But that, at the end of the day, that was my only regret about going there. I was able to help pay for part of my college education. I got some really good work experience. I learned from top professors. We used the case study method, which is the same method used at Harvard. So it really helped me in the later parts of my career, in my whole attitude and how I look at issues, how I look at problems, both business and personal. So I'm a big fan.
And I also would like to hear, and I wonder if other students too, but you ended up going to law school, and I'm sure that's on the minds of some of our current Milken students too. Can you talk about your decision to kind of take that step professionally?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. As I went to Northeastern, my goal was to work in a business that I could, at the end of the day, if things got really bad, I could do myself. Um, but I got married right when I got out of school, and then I was looking at going for an MBA. I said, well, the situation, but anyway, what I really found was I made a decision to go to law school. What I really found was both the work experience that I had from my co-op and then 2.5 years of working as a full-timer at the same place was so beneficial to my coming into law school, applying myself to the hard work, and then taking that and into my work experience later. I ended up in a class where a lot of the kids, my fellow students, were 4 years undergrad liberal arts, and they went right to law school. And their life experiences were so different. And the inability of them their lack of life experience really, I think, hindered them in understanding the complexities of cases that we were shown.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got out of law school, I ended up with not just 4 years undergrad, 3 years of law school, but I had almost 5 years of work experience in an area that had a lot of value to firms who were looking for people with not that 4-year undergrad, 3-year. I was able to bring my knowledge as a bank examiner to the issues that I was facing at the firm.
Yeah. And Alex, kind of same question, looking back, 1 year away from freshman year or first year, is there advice that you would give yourself about your first year at Northeastern?
I guess this is probably applicable at a lot of schools, but just utilize clubs and upperclassmen. Northeastern has a very unique culture where everyone kind of wants to help the next year of students get their co-op positions and get set up. So literally, if you walk up to almost any student, and I truly mean this at Northeastern, and ask, oh, I heard you were working at this place over the summer. I'm really interested in potentially doing a co-op there. Will you give me some advice on how you structured your resume or career path or courses to get to this position? And almost every time another student will offer to help, because one thing that is really strong is the Northeastern network. And even when you're applying to jobs or co-ops, everyone reaches out to everyone who's a Northeastern student. So if you're holding a position or you're getting a new position, if you're at Northeastern, you're most likely to hear from at least half a dozen potential candidates asking if they'll tell you about your experience and how you got there and how that shaped your career, how that shaped your decisions moving forward. And that's very core to Northeastern's culture, because in a sense, we're not a directly competitive institution. One person's gain does not directly harm another students in any class. It's not that type of competition. Everyone's kind of trying to help everyone, and it's truly very apparent here. And I didn't realize that as an undergrad or as a first-year student. And it's very hard to see, especially when you're okay, I'm competing against all these other students. I need the best GPA I can get to get a potential co-op, even though that's actually not true, and a bunch of other factors. People actually really want to help each other. And just the earlier you learn to use that, the better. I didn't realize that honestly till this semester. And so the earlier you start to take advantage, the more guidance you can get.
Great. Any burning questions from the current students, whether it's the search process or selection process or anything like that? I don't want to keep peppering with questions if you guys have your own. Yeah, Noah.
I'm so annoying right now, but
You're not. That's why we're here, is for you guys to ask questions.
I just wanted to know about the Jewish life and Jewish community, if it's easy to find Jewish people around, if you interact also like with Jewish, because I know it's a very college oriented town. So if you also can find like Jewish kids from other colleges around, like how that is and like how the friend groups kind of work.
So I'll take them one since it's relevant to me currently. So I participate in Hillel and Chabad at Northeastern. So I go to Shabbat dinners every week, essentially. The food's great. Also, my friends have all come from. And so every week, both Hillel and Chabad put on Shabbat dinners, and there's at least like 100 students at each currently every week. And so you get a decent amount of Jewish students there. At Northeastern, I think it's around like 8 or 9% Jewish percentage, but it's also a decent sized undergrad. So that relates to like 1,200 Jewish students at the school. But also we're right next to BU. So BU also has a ton of Jews. So often we'll go over whatever to Hillel or Chabad houses at BU on Friday nights and just like hang out with fellow students there. And the Jewish network is very tight. So often someone knows another Jew who's at BU or who's at MIT, and you'll end up going there, whatever, maybe after Shabbat dinner on the weekends, hanging out. Also, a lot of students at Northeastern also will go to different events that people host at either MIT, Harvard, or BU, because they're also, everything's kind of open for the most part to like the university or the Boston Jewish population of undergrads. There's a lot of them, and especially if you want to get involved, it's a great place and very easy to get involved as a Jew. And I've really enjoyed it so far.
And Alex, was Jewish life important to you in the search process and selection process, or is it just something that you kind of found once you were there?
So it definitely was not important to me in the search process, I will say, because I had thought, okay, I did whatever elementary school at a Jewish day school, then I went to Milken from middle school and high school, and I'm like, okay, if I go to a school with not many Jews, it's fine. I got the Jewish culture on set. But honestly, looking back to it, I would be very disappointed if it wasn't what it is. If there weren't a large community of Jews who also go to Shabbat dinners or go to different events or socialize, because I had learned to realize that something I was very used to and was very comfortable to me. And so I was very appreciative that there's such a strong, tightly knit community at Northeastern, even though it is not as initially as apparent or like advertises the fellow schools across the street being BU.
Thank you for your honesty. Celia, you talked a little bit about the Jewish community in general, like in Boston and outside of Boston. Is that something that you engaged in really seriously, or was it more of a like, oh, that's there, that's nice?
It was more of like my mom made me go to like the Chabad or whatever that was near me where I lived. And she made me go to like some Shabbat dinners. And at the time I was like single and she wanted me to meet a Jewish guy. So she was kind of like sending me places to go. But I didn't really like stick with it as much as Alex. So I don't have as much to contribute to that, other than I know that there is a pretty robust community there.
Outside of yeah. So Boston is, I mean, my impression of Boston based on this conversation is buy a long, puffy winter coat, don't wear ballet flats, and that the co-op program is something that's really going to set you up for success in terms of feeling prepared and being prepared for next steps. And I think it's really important what Alex said, that, you know, Jewish life wasn't initially something that he really prioritized or cared about, but has ended up being an important piece of his time at Northeastern. And I think that goes for a lot of Milken students. A lot of Milken students say, I've done it, like I've had enough. And you don't realize like what sort of place it takes up in your life, especially in terms of meeting new people and feeling comfortable somewhere else. So I'm going to give a last call for questions. And if none come up, if there's one more thing that each alum wants to share about advice or something like that, you know, obviously as juniors continue to learn about schools, we have the alums information. So if there's follow-up conversations you want to have and they're open to it, you can let us know and we'll connect you guys. I'm not seeing any hands go up. So if an alum wants to volunteer to go first, Celia unmuted herself first. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, even in my little program, I definitely made a couple of lifelong friends who I've worked with on projects, and we've gotten jobs. I think and you select, but get really close with your classmates, because you never know who's going to be at what company and what role, and one day you're going to need a job and you're going to want one at their company, so, or you're going to help them. So like, I met this girl Jane in my program who I've had her write freelance for almost every company I've worked at, because she travels the world and that's like how she wants to live her life. So yeah, I would just say like network like crazy and try to like retain as many contacts as you can. Have fun. I mean, I know everyone's like so focused on getting a job, making money, and like career, but don't like live with the regret of you didn't fully like enjoy your college experience, and like go out and have fun. And yes, we all need jobs, but this is like the time where you can still kind of mess around a little bit and figure out what you like and who you are.
Great. Alex or Ed? Alex?
Sure. Let's see. I guess I could say two things. One, you'll be very surprised like how different of a perspective you get when you're in your second year, starting your third year of schooling, and you've already done 6 months of work experience, because that really allows you to also structure your future classes based on your experience that you've gotten. Because at a lot of other universities, you'll graduate with 4 years with a major you think you want to do, and then you go and you'll have the option to get a job, and you've never actually had experience working in that field before, or even if you've done an internship in that field, it's fairly short-lived. So if you get an internship or co-op that you really don't like, you realize that field's not good for you, you have the option to switch. And that's something that's very unique and also kind of hidden at Northeastern. Is a lot of students don't mention it because they're very focused, and even myself, I'm very focused and set on what I want to do. But there are a lot of students that really treasure the ability of being able to learn from their co-op experience and restructure their future 2 years at Northeastern to adapt to a potential new career or completely field that they want to study. And so that's really unique to Northeastern, and also something that if you're unsure of what you want to do and want some career experience, Northeastern does allow that also.
Thanks. All right, Ed, take us home.
Take us home. We've heard about co-op. You got that, and you may have further questions on how it works. I resonate with what Celia said. Have fun, and Boston is a great place to have fun. And it resonate with what Alex says is there's a place to be focused here, but you're not locked in. You have the ability, and I guess the other part I resonate with, and it wasn't so much when I was there because we were a pretty big commuter school at the time, but it's shifted. I've done recruiting for Northeastern back in 2012, 13, and 14, but the community wants you to succeed, and they will put into place the methodology for you to succeed and help you take advantage of that methodology. And I think that ends up becoming very important. I know my daughter had experience undergrad, another school was so competitive. They were still ripping out pages at that time. So this was 2001. They were still ripping out pages of books that you had to check out in the library for a class so that you didn't get the information. Northeastern, you're not going to find that. And I think that's another element to put into as you create your mosaic for your school search.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Obviously this is recorded. It'll be, oh, there's a Frenchie. Oh my God. Be in touch with myself if you have follow-up questions for the alums. Alums, thank you so much for taking the time to do this and give back to the Milken community in a time when they really are kind of struggling to do what we normally tell them to do. We're so appreciative of it. And yeah, thank you guys. Have a
Thank
good
you.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, and also if anyone does have questions that about what currencies you want to think of after this meeting, definitely feel free to reach out. I'm also landlocked in California for the next month, so I have a decent amount of free time on my hands. If there's any additional questions,
Happy to Zoom again.
So, yeah, feel free to reach out.
Same here. If you need something from the old guy.
Thank you.
And if anyone's interested in marketing or the industry I'm in, marketing, advertising, let me know. I'm
Journalism,
happy to
yeah.
answer any questions.
That's awesome. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.